Christianity. What went wrong? What will be said here is specifically about the Roman Catholic Church, but is equally applicable to all aspects of organized Christianity. It does not matter whether or not you are Christian, or even believe in God. If you have critical thinking ability, you should understand what is presented here. Gandhi, the famous non-violent leader for Indian independence, said this: "You're Christ, I like him. You're Christians, I do not like them, because they are not like Christ." Why would he say this? As a non-Christian who was highly educated, cultured and knowledgeable about world religions, he had the advantage of an objective view of Christians, and of Christianity as an organized whole. As a very spiritually evolved man, he clearly saw the disconnect between the person and teaching of Jesus Christ, and what so-called Christians actually believed, and how they acted. A very correct observation. Presently in the U.S., we have a polarization between right and left-wing Catholics, mirrored in other Christian sects. The extreme right has emerged as the dominant force, backed by vast amounts of money, with the ability to crush all dissent from the other side. But this is nothing new. The fundamental flaw in organized Christianity, since Constantine, has been in understanding what the Church is about. What Jesus had in mind. Jesus did not mandate his followers concentrate on changing society, he mandated they concentrate on changing themselves. Think about that. That is the core of his teaching, as found in the Sermon on the Mount. In the last 50 years, scholars of human consciousness evolution have identified 3 levels of mental development. Major shifts in human consciousness which transculturally always occur in the same order: fundamentalism, rationalism, and multicultural pluralism. This is an important point. Consciousness evolution follows the same steps across all cultures. If you operate at the rationalism level, you may tolerate fundamentalism, the level below, but its adherents will not tolerate you. For they are convinced they have the truth, and to betray what they think is truth, is to betray God, and risk eternal damnation. No amount of reasoning, editorial or otherwise, will convince them. As Jesus said, they have ears to hear, and yet they cannot hear. Human consciousness evolves towards inclusion and tolerance. It doesn't start there. Postmodern pluralistic multiculturalism has shown that much that was assumed to be rational, or even natural law, has been nothing other than the idolization of cultural prejudices, as if they were God-ordained. Another critical point. Once one moves past rationalism, traditional arguments based on a self-reflective authority do not hold water. We can observe that there seems to be a concern with Catholic identity in a sectarian sense, when Catholic, by definition, refers to universal truth. Also observed is concern with the Church as an agent of change, which seems a silly hope, since the Church by and large has been a reactionary force for at least 500 years. The Church has been stuck in a fundamentalist mindset since the Reformation. Whereas the society in which it's based has moved into a postmodern pluralistic multiculturalism. The Church exists to create saints. No, not the anointed ones who are proclaimed and canonized amid great pomp and splendor in Rome. So what is a saint? Saints are people who consciously realize unity with God. A level of consciousness far above the mental levels described above. All the rest, in the bigger scheme of things, is nonsense. The Church exists to create saints. It does not exist to change society. Saints change society, not by force, but by their example, especially saints whose consciousness has evolved to great heights. Spiritual advancement necessitates evolving consciousness, because evolving consciousness takes one out of their own self-absorbed and defensive ego. Over the centuries, very few have understood this. Even fewer dared to speak it, as it utterly demolishes the self-important authority of the Vatican, and most clergy. This is frightening to the Vatican, as it shows that the Emperor has no clothes. When one spends all their energy on changing society to fit their needs, they have in fact given up on the personal spiritual quest. That quest should be for a relational experience with God, not using God as a means of controlling people. Attempts to control that very personal relationship are counterproductive, and are opposite of what Christ taught. Making anti-abortion, anti-gay, anti-immigrant, and opposition to concern for and generous, material help to the poor, ideologies and agendas presented as prime indicators of being a good Catholic, are just plain wrong. It is presented as if that is all you need to do. No attempt to internally reform themselves, much less an attempt at spiritual advancement. What Jesus taught was quite simple, it is men who have made it complicated. But then, should we be surprised? After all, what did Christ say to the leaders of organized religion? You travel the land and sea seeking to make converts. And, once they are made, they are then twice as fit for hell as you are yourselves.